Since this came up, I was not up to speed, and I'm still not up to speed. I don't know where the rest of you council are on this particular issue, but there are a couple of things that I've come across that lend me to have a caution about moving forward on this at this time. The first one, I'm going to take a little more than 3 minutes if I could.
You're welcome.
I'll warn you ahead of time. The first thing is that this is not a new thing in employment and discrimination in our country. There's been going on since 1994 a debate in the Congress about the Employment Non-Discrimination Act, the code name ENDA. That has never passed. It came within one vote a number of years ago. It still is not law, so everybody who says there is no protection for the LGBT group and federal law is 100% correct. I missed that on the quiz in talking with Ed because I thought it was covered. But it has not been, and it has not passed, and there's an effort now to again pass it. Representative Barney Frank has introduced legislation into the House, and a gentleman named Mark Way has introduced legislation into the Senate to try to pass this. The House and Senate have gone through this a number of times, iterations since 1994, every Congress except one, and it has never passed. That gives me a certain caution. The reference for my material, by the way, can be found on the internet under Wikipedia, if I can pronounce that right, and I'm looking at it right now as I go through here. It's interesting, I switched over then to look at what's going on in the state of Oklahoma. And I don't know if you realize or not, but within the last 3 months, the state of Oklahoma has passed a new Employment Non-Discrimination Act. And the wording on that of the protected groups, if we can use that correct, if that's a correct interpretation, the wording on that specifically is identical to the wording of our policy right now. So that has just been passed by the state of Oklahoma and signed by Governor Fallin. So there is no protection for this group under state law, but their comments or their wording is exactly as our wording is right now. So that gives me a little concern about changing it when the state has gone through this and seen that there is no need to change it. The lady who came up and spoke for the city's Florida is in exactly the same position as of the last updating of Wikipedia, which goes back to, I believe, April of this year. So it might have changed since then. But in Florida, they have the same situation as we have right here. It's very interesting. Several people have talked about tourism. The city of Orlando, as of April of this year, had no change in their they are compatible with Florida state law, just as we are compatible with Oklahoma state law. So both sides of this issue talk about this is good for business and this is good for tourism, and both sides, the Williams Institute is a very research-oriented outfit out of UCLA. They take the approach that it is good to have the Dr. Shadid's amendment, if you will, put in. There are other sides and other research that says it's not good. So you've got two sides to this issue going on as far as that is concerned. Going on, one of the things, there are two pieces to this issue. The LGBT, the lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender is kind of the acronym code name. Sexual orientation is involved in three of those. The transgender is another in gender. So there are two pieces to this puzzle which further complicate the issue, and I'm not enough of an expert to know exactly how this wording right here that the Dr. Shadid has proposed plays into those four components. So that gives me a caution. There's a considerable amount of research on who earns the most money. And one side, the side in favor of Dr. Shadid's approach, says that the LGBT group is financially disadvantaged. The opponents for this say, wait a minute, our research shows that this body of people actually earns more money than the straight people, if we can use that term just for a minute. So that again gives me concern on here. So as we go through, as we look at the different states, there are a number of states like Oklahoma which do not speak to state law on this particular issue. And there are some who have protection for the sexual part of it. Some have protection for both sexual and transgender. Some have just protection for public employees. Some have protection for just non-public employees. So the issue, to me, is a very complex issue, and therefore, as I've gone through just the research in the last 3 days on this, I'm not really prepared to make an intelligent vote, and so I would like, can I make an amendment, an offer to defer?
Yes, there's no motion on it.
Okay, I would like a motion to defer and direct staff to get us additional information and to bring it back to us before we vote this in its finality. So my motion is to defer it, and I don't know how long, Jim, would be a reasonable time. I would think, from the complexity I've seen, I would go for a 30-day deferral.